So the first time, Joan, and I hate to have you go through this, and then we'll go over the second time later, but the first time, exactly what happened?
We went up to his bungalow afterwards. He made me a drink, and very shortly after that, I passed out. I woke up or came to very groggily with him removing my underwear.
And you said that you,
And
in order to get him to not do what you thought what was going to happen next, you said you lied to him about having some sort of infection.
and I said, you know, if you have sex with me, your wife is going to know it because you probably will infect her. And I thought I was very clever in saying that, but he was more clever. And instead, he made me have oral sex with him, which really was just horrible. To me, it's much, much worse than had he just raped me the normal way.
You've never publicly spoken about this before. The first alleged occasion occurred after you had finished taping an episode of the Bill Cosby Show, as you said. And then you write in detail about what happened, saying, I was sickened by what was happening to me and shocked that this man that I idolized, was now raping me. Of course, I told no one. And you said you didn't tell your mother because
Correct.
Your mother thought he was such a big deal at the time, and your mother just wouldn't believe you. And you said at the time your mom would say, well, what happened with the Bill Cosby experience? And every time that she would talk about him, I'm sure it sickened you.
It sure did. Every time she would say, come watch the Bill Cosby Show. I just had to say, I just said, I can't, I'm doing homework.
Why didn't you tell police?
Went back into my room. Because of Cosby's, well, first of all, nobody else had come out. I didn't know his history. I assumed I was not the only girl that he was doing this with. But who's going to believe me? Bill Cosby, the all-American dad, the all-American husband, the person, Mr. Jello, that everybody loves. Who would believe me? They'd probably think I was out to get something. You know intellectually that it's not your fault, but your emotions have no intelligence, and your intelligence have no emotions, and sometimes they don't connect with each other. And my emotions won at this point. I felt a lot of shame. I felt a lot of guilt. I felt a lot of shoulds. I should have known there was something wrong with this man. I should have felt something was off with him. And I was angry at myself that I didn't, and blamed myself.
You were asked by another, I think it was a Philadelphia magazine, and they said, you said, what do you think about Bill Cosby's show coming up? And you said, I would love for NBC to cancel the series they're doing with him, but that involves money, not ethics. So that's not going to happen. And I would also like to be able to say, and this is a quote from you, Bill Cosby is a rapist, and have America believe it.
Yes. He's a serial rapist, actually. I mean, when you rape at least 16 women, that's serial. That's a serial rapist.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Okay. And again, we're going to say that Bill Cosby, of course, his accusations, he's denied it, all of them.
Yes.
And we reached out to representatives, and of course,
Yep.
the representative said this weekend he was not going to dignify any of this with a response.
Our world is a planet of dualities. It's either smothered in sunlight or rinsed in moonlight, covered by watery plains or blown away wastelands. Since black or white is the theme that rules Mother Earth, I wonder why people get so scared when they hear I was bipolar. In case you don't know what bipolar disorder is, let me explain. You may have heard of its former moniker, manic depressive. Its victims are often delusional and fluctuate between feeling in a black mood or extremely ecstatic and talking nonstop to anyone who would listen, even when there's no one there to listen. Did you know we live on a planted planet? It's true, the aliens seeded this planet, just like planting a garden. They are totally responsible for our evolution. You know they change our DNA while we're sleeping? We are so self-centered as a species, as if we're the only populated planet in the multiverse. See, you even all call it a universe, like it's the only one. That's why I call it a multiverse. Who kicked me? When we're not talking, well, actually, at times like this, we never stop talking. We're spending money on necessary items like monogrammed underwear. I'll take a dozen of those lacy purple panties. Did you know purple is the highest spiritual color? It represents the crown chakra. Put this all on my American Express card. I call it the God card because God pays all of my bills. I thought pieces of garbage on the street had a meaning for me and held messages from God or space people. What's this? A half-smoked cigarette? Must mean some aliens quit smoking. I slept 15 minutes a night and meditated 5 seconds a day. There, I'm done. I felt very spiritual, obsessed, and possessed by aliens, or I was God's chosen person, the Queen of the Jews. Then, without fair warning, I'd plunge into a state of doom and gloom and stop. Stop shopping, theorizing, thinking, talking, and living altogether. During these depressive episodes, I would pray that God would take me to heaven or deposit me in hell. Anything would be better than the hell I felt just being alive. I would have jumped out of the window and ended it all, but that meant I'd have to move to do that. I remember my first series of manic episodes. I was married to X1. That's what I call my former husbands. Living in Santa Monica, California, and driving X1 crazy. He was editing a newspaper, and I called him every 30 minutes or so with a new theory of evolution. He found a hospital to admit me, but after the 24-hour hold, as they called it, X1 believed me when I told him I was better and foolishly took me home. He had no idea I spent the entire night talking to God, who I believed was in a light bulb in the ceiling just over my head. One night he decided to try the neuropsychiatric clinic at UCLA. We were in the basement of the campus and told to follow the yellow line on the floor until we reached it. Campus is about a square mile, and we entered at the wrong end. At one point, we passed a huge plastic bag that contained what must have been the assortment of the day's casts, waiting for garbage pickup. Well, to my deluded mind, these were the day's casts from the Stepford Wives surgeries. And I was about to turn into a 5'11" waspy blonde. Just what every short, dark-haired Jewish girl wants. I was not frightened by this fantasy because, unlike in the book, my brilliant mind would not be changed. That delusion only lasted a few minutes until the next one began. Since I now realized I was in a hospital, I abruptly believed I was pregnant. By the time we reached the shrink zone, I had induced a hysterical pregnancy, and my stomach swelled so enormously I had to unzip my jeans. When at last I entered the consultation room, there were 5 shrinks sitting in a circle. 3 of them wore eyeglasses like I did, which to me meant they were the good aliens. The other 2 didn't wear glasses, so they were the evil aliens. Now, the good aliens could read my mind, so communication between us was unnecessary. And I didn't dare let on that I recognized the evil aliens for what they were. When the aliens finally asked me what I was doing there, I pulled up my shirt and showed them my big belly and pronounced proudly, "I'm pregnant." Well, they looked at each other. I was observing the macrame plant hanger hanging from the ceiling in the far corner. See, I knew this was actually the earthquake barometer. And if it started to move, I would know a quake had started above us, on the surface. just where earthquakes happen. Then the alien shrinks started asking me shrinky-type questions. What do you think of when you hear a Rolling Stone gathers no moss? A rock band, I answered. Oh, but you want the traditional interpretation, I guess. And I told them you can't run from place to place and expect to succeed. They continued with their saying, and I with my cliches. After a few more, they asked me to wait outside and called X1 in. I later learned that the shrinks had suspiciously asked him why he brought me to neuropsychiatric since I was pregnant. Were they accusing him of being crazy? He said he nearly picked up a chair and threw it at them. Then we would both be committed, him in jail and me in an institute of higher learning, as I call the various mental wards I had attended. I wasn't trying to trick anyone into believing I was normal. I just had no idea how cuckoo I was. During one of the times when I was manic like crazy, I was working in the music business, a perfect fit. Most of my peers were so strung out on coke, they didn't notice when I was nuts. I had to go to the Grammy Awards with my boss, who was accepting the award for Anne Murray. I learned my boss got the flu, and I had to accept the award for her. Since these awards were televised, what I was going to wear became critical to me. I decided to wear the blue suede pants, precariously stitched together with rawhide, now sizes too big. I constructed these pants when I was in one of my nut houses. You've heard of it, perhaps? Bellevue? I had been refusing to make a wallet in occupational therapy. Only crazy people made wallets. And then I realized if I didn't make a wallet or an ashtray or something, they would never let me out. But if I made a pair of pants, they'd have to release me sooner. So I put them on, then donned an orange silk shirt from India, a subtle color combination, and black knee-high rubber Wellington rain boots from England. Well, backstage, the wardrobe department tried to get me into an appropriate outfit, but I would have none of that. Didn't they know everything I wore symbolized something to me? Eventually, the show went on without me, as a dismembered voice announced Anne Murray's award. While I struggled to get on stage, the men in the white coats gently led me into an ambulance. Though claiming I was pregnant, I was taken away to the nearest mental ward. Bellevue again. I was so crazy that for years I was misdiagnosed. My first hospital shrink, a cute Asian who inspected me from behind perfectly round tortoiseshell glasses, thought I was schizophrenic because he believed I had to be hearing voices. He prescribed an antipsychotic called Haldol, which I called Hold On. The drug brought me down to earth with a thud, along with a myriad of side effects. It wasn't until later when I met a female psychiatrist who immediately declared, "You're manic depressive." No, I'm not. I'm just like Carlos Castaneda. I have my own spiritual advisor. No, you're having a manic episode, she said, beginning to write the prescription that would end my illness and change my life forever. That woman saved my life with the correct diagnosis of my symptoms. Well, the Asian doctor might have been cuter. He could have had me institutionalized for the rest of my life. However, after her diagnosis, I got well, and I've never been locked up again.